My coworker tried to get me fired. At first, I thought I was just being paranoid. Maybe I was reading too much into things. But then, meetings started feeling colder. Emails started getting rewritten, and mistakes I didn't make were suddenly being discussed as if they were facts. By the time I realized what he was doing, I stopped defending myself, and I let him finish what he started. I worked on a small corporate team where everyone was expected to wear multiple hats. We weren't exactly friends, but we were professional. At least, that's what I thought. My coworker and I had the same title, similar responsibilities, and overlapping projects. But we had very different approaches. I focused on accuracy and follow-through. He focused on visibility. If something went right, he wanted credit. If something went wrong, he wanted distance. At first, that difference didn't matter. Until it did. The first signs were easy to dismiss. In meetings, he'd ask questions like, "Just to clarify, was that your decision?" Or, "I thought we had agreed on a different approach." He was always calm, always polite, and always phrased it like simple curiosity. Managers would just nod and move on. But afterward, I'd get messages from them asking me to be more careful. Careful about what? Exactly? No one could ever say. Then came the emails. Every single conversation suddenly needed a written recap. Every task update included management. Every delay in ones, caused by other teams, somehow ended with my name attached to it. What bothered me wasn't the documentation itself. It was the framing. He never lied outright. He just positioned things. And slowly, it started working. One afternoon, I was accidentally added to an email thread I wasn't supposed to see. Scrolling up, I felt my stomach drop. My coworker had summarized a problem entirely around me. He wrote, "I'm concerned this keeps happening," and wanted leadership visibility. But when I checked the timestamps, the issue had occurred before I ever even touched the file. He knew that, and he sent the email anyway. That's when it clicked. He wasn't trying to fix problems. He was building a narrative. Not long after, my manager asked for a quick sync. His tone was casual, but he had a concerned look on his face. He said, "We're noticing some consistency issues." I asked him for examples. He listed 3 situations, none of which were fully accurate. I didn't argue. I just asked questions. And as he spoke, I realized something unsettling. Every single example he gave came directly from my coworker. That night, I stopped trying to correct things verbally. Instead, I started documenting everything. Quietly, I saved emails, Slack messages, file version histories, and task assignments. Not to build a case against him, but just to understand the pattern for myself. And the pattern was crystal clear. Whenever something went wrong, my coworker was already positioned as the messenger, never the source. As the weeks passed, it got bolder. He started scheduling alignment meetings that felt more like interrogations. He questioned my decisions publicly. He suggested I needed additional oversight. Management began watching me closely. I could feel it. He thought he was winning. I started triple-checking everything, second-guessing myself, wondering how long it would be before this turned into a formal performance issue. And through all of it, my coworker stayed calm, supportive, and helpful, at least in public. Privately, the emails kept coming. Always subtle, always documented, always framed. Then one day, he rushed a change. Big one. He bypassed the approval process to meet a deadline and pushed it live himself. The system broke within hours. Clients noticed. Leadership noticed. And before anyone could even ask any questions, an email went out. From him, blaming me. He CC'd all of management. He used my name confidently. He explained what I had done wrong. Except, he forgot one thing. Everything was logged. I didn't respond right away. I let the email sit there. I let managers read it. I let assumptions form. I let him double down in his follow-up messages. Then, calmly, I replied. I attached the system changelog, the approval history, and the exact time, and I wrote one simple sentence. For clarity, I did not make this change. Please see attached records. Dat was Italiano. No one responded for several minutes. Then my manager messaged me. Can you join a call? When the first joined, HR was there. Another manager was there. My coworker joined last. They didn't ask me to explain. They asked him. He started talking quickly. He contradicted himself. He blamed process confusion. Then someone shared their screen. The logs were clear. There was no ambiguity. There was no room left for him to spin his story. The narrative he'd been building for months collapsed in real time. What followed wasn't dramatic. It was procedural. HR reviewed past incidents. They checked the emails. They compared the file versions, and they found something worse than a single mistake. They found a pattern. This wasn't the first time he'd redirected blame. It was just the first time it failed so spectacularly. My coworker was placed on leave, then terminated. Quietly. Professionally. Without any explanation to the rest of the team. I later learned he'd done this in previous roles. It just hadn't backfired on him like this before. Management apologized to me. Not emotionally, but clearly, suddenly my work was consistent again. My feedback mattered. My name stopped appearing in vague, concerning emails. The negative narrative disappeared just as fast as it had formed. I didn't expose him. I didn't confront him. I just stopped correcting his lies in private and let him repeat them in public. Because when someone is trying to get you fired, sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is let them keep talking. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to Desk Job Justice for more real workplace stories where quiet patience wins.